I think where we last left off, Erin and I were updating what we are calling horse haul, and there's a couple more updates that I need to do, and then we need to get our butts inside because this heat wave that came, I feel like everybody in the desert jinxed it because we're like, oh my god, we're having such a great summer, and then it's like, watch this. We're going to be doing a living room makeover. We're not renovating until next year, but that doesn't mean that we can't make this house a home and feel super proud when we host. So I'm going to bring you into that, but there's a couple things we got to do. The main thing that we wanted to get done before the heat rolled in was giving Mouse an actual hay feeder. I don't like when the horses eat off the sand, so we just built something that was a little bit more unique than a basic hay feeder, which is going to change down the line. But in order to just have a place to catch his hay, to hang a hay net, and to avoid him, again, eating off the ground. One thing we are going to be doing throughout the entire property, we are falling in love with burning wood, which is also called Sho Sugibon. And so we're just, again, carrying that over to the wall that we did over by Mouse to keep it a little cohesive and also elevate it a tad. I am thoroughly enjoying creating on a budget without compromising aesthetics, burning the plywood literally to the AC cover, to the garden, to the back of Mouse's wall for the wind block. Again, it just is in a budget-friendly way to build, but have things look nice. And if you burn it to a crisp and then chisel it off, I think it makes the wood look so much better. Everything that we are installing into the studs behind it, so it's extra secure. Just like we're about to do with the living room makeover, even though we're not going full budget, full renovation, it doesn't mean that you can't make things look nice and function for exactly how you need it to make your life even easier. Even though Mouse was like, what do you mean my hay is wrapped? There are 3 simple ways to update an outdated space such as this. Now, the living room has seen many phases over the last 5 years, and we have definitely grown in and grown up into this space. I'm excited to have that be reflected, but we got to start with the tedious work that will make the biggest difference, which is removing the popcorn ceilings, smoothing out the texture on the walls, and grinding down the concrete floors. Ages ago, a couple years back, when I thought I was going to renovate this entire house in 90 days. Who is she? I did test the ceiling for asbestos and it came back negative. I definitely should be wearing a respirator and some more protection, but it was 108 degrees and I was literally cooking already. So I just kind of sprayed the ceiling with some water, let it soak, and went in with a couple of different scrapers, like a floor scraper, and landed on a paint scraper actually being the best thing to knock the texture off of the ceiling. We started this project on August 7th, actually, in the middle of a crazy heat wave. And so I definitely split up my days to make sure I wasn't absolutely, just demolishing my body, which my body does feel demolished after all of this. And so I just took it in chunks. Like I did a quarter of the ceiling the next day, removed the fireplace, kind of took it in smaller bites, as I say, because a huge makeover like this can seem very overwhelming, which it is for one person. And now that, Erin is in my life, it still feels overwhelming, but she got some help. But I tried to get as much done while he was working throughout the day so he could come home and help me with the stuff. I was like, please. We will be reusing that fireplace elsewhere on the property, but we needed to clear it out, honestly, because it's just such an awkward placement. It really just kind of halted the functionality of the entire living room floor. And so now that that's out of there, we have a true blank space. Keeping things clean throughout the dustiest phase of this makeover was next to impossible, but definitely necessary so you don't lose your brain. So I just have to be honest. Every time you do a part of this, I highly recommend cleaning, because if you do not, when you turn around and everything is covered in dust, you almost lose your brain. So let's try to avoid that. You also kind of have to take it in strides when you realize even though you've cleaned up, the next phase is going to require more dust and it's kind of repetitive, like us grinding the concrete floors. We have done this before together. I had this stand-up concrete holder that you had to manage, and I felt like I was riding a bull. No, Aaron was like, hey, I have this floor grinder with this gnarly attachment. He connected it to a dust collection system and legitimately ground the whole thing down by hand on his knee. I just, like a million times over. I can't wait to show you because it does make such a massive difference. But I need to be honest, if I was doing this by myself, yes, it is completely doable. But what I learned about Aaron is he used to do this as a side hustle. So when he was sanding it versus when I used the tool, you can tell that he has done it so much that he can get it down even pretty right off the bat, where when I was doing it, I was creating lines and a little bit of divots. Practice makes perfect though with everything. But with this concrete floor, I wasn't about to try to do any kind of part of it since it is the largest room in the house. And so I just let Aaron take it away, and I just don't. The muscle that was required for this, very grateful he has those. We grabbed a couple of paint samples. We definitely wanted to make this room more moody, so we threw them up on the wall before we move forward with grinding the concrete floors, and then you are just gonna see me consistently skimming. I skimmed for days. He ground for days. So I am so sorry that some of this footage is so repetitive, but it is the reality of the process. The black that you see me trying to chisel up in hopes to make Aaron's life more easy, because grinding that down, I guess it gets a little gummy and you got to really work through it. I think it's called mastic, don't quote me. Every time Aaron said, I just looked at him like, yeah, that sounds good. But that was making grinding the concrete floors a little bit more difficult. Obviously, when the concrete's more just bare, you are sanding less off and you don't have to put as much work in it. So most of the floor was covered in that. And so yes, again, it was just a process. This floor had so many divots because I think the fireplace was in a different location and there's a bunch of tack strips with the carpet that was originally in here, but don't worry, we are going to be filling those up. But again, taking the project in smaller chunks. Him and I had one goal each day and we tried our hardest to hit it. And so it allowed us, yes, it might have taken quote unquote a while. It actually didn't take a while. It's nuts how much work that him and I have gotten done in the last 2 weeks. we don't want to overwhelm ourselves entirely because you don't want to be completely dead after this project, even though it's almost unavoidable with these changes that you have to make because it is so repetitive to get it right, to not have to redo. The first coat of skim on the textured walls, I like to do just straight super light joint compound directly on the wall and smooth it out best I can. I then go in and wet sand it with a sponge to really understand where the imperfections are, because then I'll fill that with more joint compound and then go ahead and sand it down after it fully dries. As far as the ceiling, I sanded that down with a vacuum sander with a dust collection system on it because I just was over creating dust. And as I was sanding the ceiling down, I realized how much joint compound would take to smooth this out. So I said, let's just stick to the walls and we'll come up with a solution, with our husband to make our lives easier. Now, believe it or not, there are 3 different types of air conditionings in this living room. It's absolutely insane. So we want to start to remove one by one as we can. This one first because it just takes up so much power. We don't use it, and it is very unsightly, even though it was necessary probably at one point. To patch a hole, it's actually fairly simple. Aaron framed out the hole in 2x4s for me, and then you cut down the drywall to its size, plop it into place, screw it into the 2x4s, and you're literally going to use joint compound and drywall tape. Just go over it, and then it will literally disappear once you start adding your top layers. After the wet sanding, filling the imperfections, and then dry sanding the whole wall with a very fine grit, I went from a 220 to 320. I am now going to go in and thin out this joint compound with some water and roll it onto the wall, and then use a, scraper to make it all smooth. I could have made my life a lot easier and done this on the first coat, but because of the amount of texture on these walls, going in with that super light but thicker joint compound allowed me to have more control of not only filling in all that texture, but because all these walls are uneven, I was able to float a decent amount of material when necessary. When you roll it on, you don't have that much control because it is so thin, so that's why I saved it for the last coat. I am just now realizing from far away, it looks like we're doing nothing. There is a close-up of the texture before and after once it's painted, so you can truly see the difference. And I am so sorry this is so repetitive, but this is part of the process. It is so worth it. But again, it does take a decent amount of work if you want to get it right. The last thing that we wanted to do was patch the concrete floor, and we are just going to be using this quick setting concrete by Quikrete, and then there's also a bottle of concrete adhesive that has like a blue label. It's a liquid that you're going to be like rubbing into those holes before you add this quick set mixture. You can see here that I'm going in with a toothbrush and that concrete adhesive before Aaron comes in and fills behind me. And honestly, tag teaming this whole project has made I'm realizing how much work I would put on myself and try to get it done within like a couple days time. This was 2 people, 2 weeks worth of work with us going honestly absolutely nonstop on the space. Aaron and I let the concrete patch dry before we literally hand in hand started painting the wall together. It was such a big moment. We also fell in love with this color because it's very similar to a plaster we would like to use. And again, this is a budget living room makeover, but in the renovation, it's nice to know that this color works and you're gonna get more depth with that plaster, that like clay play back and forth on the walls versus paint is just very flat. There's no dimension to it. I mean, you guys, this was the before, and it also cracks me up that 5 years ago I was sleeping on the floor in front of the only air conditioning in the house, and now Aaron and I are doing that together as we embark on actually making over this entire space. Yeah, this is where we're gonna call it a night because, are you kidding? We are absolutely pooped. Our bodies are totally worked. But let me show you the details of everything that we did. Something I noticed with completely ripping this space out and doing what we did to it, it completely shifted the energetics of the space, and how I feel is just so much lighter. The animals are responding differently to it. It is really crazy, even though, yes, it took a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of work to get to the final product, how much of a difference just resetting your space can make for you. After we made sure all of the girls were good to go in the rain that was to come, and we actually didn't get that much, thank goodness. We did some rainy day activities. We went down the hill to Black Lug Vintage, one of our favorite thrift store, and you can just tell, like, you can literally find anything here, and it has been one of my go-tos for decorating the house since I've gotten it. Aaron has an absolutely insane record collection, and he's never gone through the ones at Blackleg, so it's fun to watch him kind of go through while I bopped around, seeing if there's anything that I liked, like some new cowboy boots or what have you. Two very different items. We went even further down the hill to Whitewater Rock. It is one of our favorite places and our first time shopping there together. And you can just get lost. They have every type of brick, every type of stone. It's literally just like a sea of stone, brick, boulders, anything you can possibly think of. So it was a little overwhelming, but we finally made a decision. When we came back up the hill, we stopped at Home Depot and made sure to grab some materials to get the fireplace started. And we even got a tip from the garden section that we could run out and ask to buy a tree early, and it totally worked. We are officially back in the living room and it feels so good. We ended up purchasing 900 pounds of rock that added up to be about $270, which is way less expensive than I anticipated. Aaron and I are currently taping out the potential layout for the rock so we can come in and hopefully have some form of a plan by laying them out before we get them up onto the wall itself. When we started handling them, we noticed how dirty they were, so we opted to wash the front and the back of every single one, which helped us a lot because it brought the true color, the pattern, some of the lines coming through the rock itself really pop, so we could even have a better idea of how we want them up on the wall, because now we could see everything that the rocks have to offer. Aaron and I were kind of giggling throughout the whole process of getting the rock because we like misheard the guy. We thought he said it was $900 for the little amount that we had gotten, but in fact it was 900 pounds. We had no idea how to narrow it down, and a gentleman ended up suggesting a rock called Sierra Mist, which we have right here, is the original one that Aaron like grabbed the larger pieces of and was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Once we had the layout of the rock at the size that we thought we wanted, and we can kind of just work from there and see what we're working with now that it's just like spewed about onto the floor, we move forward with finding the studs where the original fireplace was to be able to add some hardy backer to it. Not gonna lie, we were both getting really nervous after moving the rock. We're like, this is so heavy. What do you mean just like a scratch and a mortar is gonna keep this on the wall? So we were kind of like slowly like just getting a little bit more doubtful of the DIY at hand. But we decided to move forward regardless. So we threw up that hardy backer board. We were going to be doing a frame popping out of the wall, but because the rock is already so thick, we just didn't see it was necessary as long as it was thoroughly supported into the studs. It was absolutely go time once we mixed the wheelbarrow of mortar. We just kind of threw ourselves at it. Looking back, we think that we should have made the mortar way thinner to create some solid lines, but what we did here actually has worked thus far, thank goodness. And when it came to putting the rock on the wall, we really just took our time, well, as much time as the mortar would allow, for us to kind of place pieces individually, hold them there until it would grab, and then move forward to the next row. This first half quickly got out of hand with the amount of mortar on the floor, with how we were doing it. Again, first timers, but I'm glad we powered through because it actually was holding and it looked stunning. Aaron ran out and grabbed some scrap pieces of wood of different sizes so we could use them as spacers because we didn't want it uniform. We really want the rawness of the material to show through the entire project. We decided to let that first half just sit because it really dawned on us how much weight was about to go on this wall. So we're like, let's just make sure this half makes it through the night and that everything dries completely. I kind of just got a little intense and started patching moments that I was seeing within the wall and added a fresh paint of coat, which seems completely backwards, but it was driving me nuts. And then we went and did the next half of the fireplace. This time around, instead of mixing a ton of mortar in the wheelbarrow, we just left it dry and scooped it into a smaller bucket and mixed it in batches, and it really allowed us to take way more time and it did not feel so stressful. It is pretty incredible to create the heart of the home with the heart of my life. Aw, mushy. But seriously, this is such an impactful moment of the home for us to design around and really gather like an idea of how we want to execute moving forward, because now we're like obsessed with incorporating rock. We are going to be focusing on the fireplace half of the living room, and Aaron and I decided that we are going to also build out the furniture for the space, which is so new to me. I am so stoked. So I will see you after the holiday, like pretty soon, for another DIY for us to wrap up this living room. I am just so excited for this series.